Hello and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is JJJan. I'm so glad that you have joined me here again today. I am working on day 8 of the Junk Journal January 2026 challenge, and I am doing that here in my Hobonichi. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that out of my cover that I carried around in. I do want to say that I'm actually doing this prompt out of order, so it's day 8. It's actually the 9th of January, and I've already posted my video for the 9th. Life got a little crazy yesterday, and I did not get to creating a video. And so I'm going backwards to kind of catch up. So I've mentioned, if you've seen any of the other videos in this series, I am using my Hobonichi, which is the journal that I use for my daily journal. I don't typically art journal in this journal, but I am using it for the month of January to do the prompts for Junk Journal January. And so I've got the prompt in here, and if we take a look at day 8, you can see that that is font. And so that's what we're going to play with today. I've gathered some things here that I am considering using, and I have a little bit more of a plan this time than I often do, and I will let you in on that. But first I need to get to the page in question. It's always nice when you get a little bit into a channel or a series like this to kind of flip through what you've already done. I find it being, I haven't journaled on here yet, I find it somewhat inspiring. So here is day 8. Now, my original plan with the idea of font was to just do maybe an alphabet in the lettering style that I typically use and make that sort of the focal point of the page. But the page that I did on the 7th, I used art glitter glue, which is my favorite, and glue stick to glue those items on. But because the paper in this journal is so thin, it ended up creating a texture on the back. And I knew that trying to do work directly on this paper with colored pencil was not going to work. So I needed to come up with another plan. And I kind of played a little bit with some ideas, and I was actually going through some magazines looking for some images to use for upcoming prompts, and I found this page, which actually I cut off the rest of the page to use for something else. But I saw this, and I really liked the lettering here, this font, Calmer Past, and I thought this could potentially be a way to do a little bit of journaling for this day that was more not what happened today, but sort of journaling on a topic. So I decided that I was going to use this as the foundation for my page font, and yeah, so that's where we are. So the first thing I need to do, this paper is a little bit larger than the page, so I need to trim it down. I am going to just tear the bottom off. I think I want to do it about there. So I'm just going to fold this over, score it a little bit, and then literally just tear it and let it be, maybe not that rough, let it be a little bit rough. And I like that. And it is too wide for this page, right? So I'm gonna grab a pencil, maybe, here we go. And I'm just gonna mark where the edge of that page is. So right there. And then I'm gonna grab my trimmer, which has seen better days. It is well used and well loved. And I'm gonna actually trim just inside of that mark, and that's so that I don't add extra bulk inside of the what do you call that word? The spine here. So I'm just gonna err on the side of just a little bit inside. And then I would like to keep the date block that is on the journal. It's pre-printed on the journal page. I tend to use this because it is a daily journal. So I'd like to keep that exposed. And so what I'm gonna do is first tear off the top here so that I have the top edge. And again, I'm gonna let it be rough. I love organic tear lines like this. Is one of my favorite things to do. And that'll fit nicely on the page, but I would like to expose just a little bit of this. And so I'm going to, so probably right along, like, oh, actually, that's kind of fun. Maybe I won't tear it. Maybe I'll just fold it over. I'm not gonna tear this just yet. I'm gonna leave this folded over. I'll either fold it or I'll tear it. Okay, one of the two. Now I need to play a little bit, so I'm gonna grab this binder clip just to hold this in place as I show you some of the other bits that I've gathered. So the prompt is font, so I was trying to think of different ways to do lettering, and I have this stamp. It's just background script, and I thought perhaps I could use this somewhere. I've used it on another page, so I also thought it might kind of tie the series of pages in together a little bit. So I have this, and I have some walnut stain to use. I also, and this is kind of my focal point, I guess, I have this paper scrap, and I'm gonna lay it down here because I think it'll be easier for you to see it if I lay it here. I used a piece of paper, and I used my die cut machine to punch out letters. Oh, actually, let me turn it this way. It might make more sense visually. To punch out letters for the title page of my Ephemerember journal that I did in December. And I just thought the leftover sort of negative paper was kind of interesting. And I didn't throw it away because I thought maybe I could use it. And so I was thinking it would be fun to play with this on top of this other paper and see what that leads me to. And I was thinking, you know, if I turned it this way, I'd have sort of a font in negative, and then maybe I could see a brief visit right here. Or I thought maybe even I could turn it this way, which would hide that words, but you would still be able to see a calmer past. And then we'd have the letters here. So I was just thinking of maybe playing a little bit with the placement of that. Now I'm wondering if I did fold this over, if I would want to go that way, or if I'd want to go that way, or actually, oh, I don't know. I do think I want to tear this a little bit further down, because as I'm looking at this, I don't want it to sit quite as high as this. Let me tear that off. I like that better. All right, so I could let it sit like so. Oh, I've lost my, let me lay this flat, that might help. So, like so, fold that over. I think if I fold it over, my best bet is to go this way and lose that little piece. I like the green just with this, but with this piece here, I don't like the green. So what I think I'm gonna do is just tear along that edge like so, so that this is revealed. And actually, before I glue this down, let me go ahead. I'm gonna grab my Micron 005, and I'm just gonna trace over and then this is red, so I actually like to go over the letters that are here with the black so that the letters, the ink disappears, and instead we end up with there we go. And then and then I can come back and color this in colors that match kind of what I'm doing here. So for instance, I have a sepia here. I can come in with the sepia and do the number 8. And then for my sun, I'll use a yellow ochre, just lightly. And then I'm going to use this slate gray to do both the sky. I feel like this is a good color for a sunny winter sky. And then I'm going to use the same thing. So it did get a little cloudy, so I use the same thing, just a little bit darker for the clouds. So I've got that here, and now I can look at putting the page down and sort of playing with that. I think I am going to just go ahead and adhere this to the page. I'm okay with where it is. Oh, actually, no, I lied. I'm going to take the Distress ink and I'm going to use this ink around the edges of this page. I haven't really done this yet. I often do this in my junk journals where I distress the edges of the page to give them a little bit of a vintage look. I think that could be interesting given the paper scrap that I'm going to add onto this page. So just go around and give a little bit of distressing there. And then I can adhere. Got a little sloppy on there. That's okay. I can hear that. Actually, I like that. It helps the white pop a little bit more. Now I used a wetter glue on this side. I'm gonna go with this tape runner for this side. I experimented on another page with the tape runner, and I think that it works. I don't particularly like this tape runner. Find a better one, but I think that works better just in general with this paper than the wetter tape. All right, and I'm going to use the outside edge to line up. That'll keep me out of the absolute center. And now we've got our background page. I think I'm okay without this for now. Right, so now I need to decide how I might want to put this. I think I like it this way so that it's more solid towards the bottom and more open up at the top. And I think if I tear it kind of here and maybe here, then the tears kind of align with the top of the page. And yeah, that sort of makes sense that way. Now, if I were to glue this down, and I'm going to in just a moment, here with a wetter glue, I think I would be okay because the glue would be going onto this paper and not directly onto the paper that is in the journal. So I am, for this, going to use a wet glue. But before I do that, I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to make just 2 little sort of registration marks so that when I go to put this back down, I know what I'm lining up with. I'll line up with those registration marks. Okay, so move the journal out of the way and grab my handy dandy, this is a little sticky, handy dandy, no longer needed catalog. And so I'm going to use my art glitter glue. And I'm going to do this lightly. This is not a heavy paper, so it doesn't need a lot of glue. The bigger issue with this, because there are so many pieces cut out of the paper, I need to make sure I get all of the bits so that it stays well adhered, particularly up here where I've torn off a bit of the paper and it's just sort of a loose end sitting. So let's go around. I think I've got everything. I put this back in here and bring my page back in. Right, and now is where those registration marks will come in handy, as I can use them to help me get this back into place right where I want it. Great, so that's kind of fun, and I think that's a good foundation for this page font. I have, oh rats, I had intended to put this down first, so it was behind here, and I failed. You know what though, this is so dark, I'm not sure that it's necessarily a bad thing. So what I'll do is I'm gonna grab, let's see, a couple scrap bits here and place them down, actually something even skinnier, and place them on top of these bits here, and also maybe a little piece in here, and then right there. So I'm just masking where I don't want to stamp, and then I'll put a little bit of wax paper. All right, and then I'll ink this. And then just put it in place. I don't have anything underneath of this. Let me grab a book. So I'm stamping on a flat surface. Okay, and then I can take the masking away, and then that way the stamp doesn't transfer significantly on this off-white pattern here, but it does sort of pop through. It did not transfer here though, which is a little bit frustrating. It's one of the places that I really wanted it. So let me try again. It's probably the fact that I've got this it's not raised up enough. Let me get something a little bit thicker than this notebook. I'll try this one. That might work a little bit better to re-ink. Yeah, there we go. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe we'll put a little bit there as well. So I'm just trying to get a couple more layers of font going here. There we go. Okay, now, when I skipped the 8th and I went to the 9th, I did that page, and I want to show that to you here. So this is the page I did the following day. And I had some bits that I either didn't use or left over. And so I'm gonna see about maybe using them on this page just to help tie the two together. Although I feel like they largely do kind of work together already. But for now I'm gonna cover this back up, and because even though color-wise I want them to fit together, I do want to treat this as its own page. So here's the bits that I have. This really sort of interesting, I think it's a piece of some sort of juniper berry or something. So it's mostly browns and a really dark green, and then sort of a gray blue color. And I just thought it was interesting, maybe to use just a bit of it kind of here as an extra piece. I have a couple circles that I cut. That one almost feels too big, although I guess it could go off the edge. I like this one. This one size-wise makes a little bit more sense, just to create a little bit of a collage for some interest. And then I also have this bird, and I thought maybe he could go maybe here and just sort of rest on the page. I think that's really pretty. I like that. I know the focal image becomes a bird and not the font, but I don't think when you're doing a prompt like this that you necessarily need to make the prompt the focal point. I just think it needs to be a part of your page. And I've definitely got font represented here. And I like this composition. So this is what we're gonna do. I just need to glue it down. I am gonna do a quick registration mark for this piece, and then the rest of it I'll just kind of play by ear. All right, so again, I'm gonna use my art glitter glue to adhere each of these pieces. I love using magazines in my junk journaling, not only for the interesting papers and images, but also because once I've read a magazine, using it in my junk journal allows me to repurpose what otherwise might just end up in the landfill and make a little bit of art out of what would be junk, which again is sort of the joy of junk journaling. All right, so I'm going around the edge first so that those fussy bits like his beak and his talons will stay stuck in the end. And I really like the foot here. So I'm gonna place him based on where I want the foot to be. Now the tail's hanging over a bit, and that's okay. What I am gonna do is just take a little bit of this wax paper and tuck it here, because I don't want the tail to stick to the page underneath. Once it's completely dry, I'll trim that off. let's go ahead and redo this. All right, so pull this out of the way. So I like this. The one thing I think I want to add is he's blending in just a bit to the background. So I want to do something to push him off of the background just the slightest bit. To do that, I'm going to use a distress crayon, and this is the color Antique Linen. Or maybe I should, no, actually I lied. I'm not going to use the Antique Linen, even though I said I was. Instead, I'm going to use Picket Fence, which is a little bit more of a white. I think that'll make more sense with this background here. And I'm just going to go just really lightly around the outline-ish. Not really tracing, I'm just sort of scribbling, I guess, a little bit around the outside. I'm not even sure that this is gonna read. I guess it's more creating a bit of a shadow. Yeah, just to see. I don't know if you can see this on camera, just to help it pop away from the background just a little bit. All right, I think that's good. I didn't really leave myself a whole lot of space to journal on this day, and you know what? That's also okay. There wasn't anything particularly exciting that happened on that day, and so I'm just gonna let it be what it is. I'll go ahead and trim the tail off now that the glue has had a chance to dry. And there is our page for today. I like a little bit of mark making. So I think I am going to come down and just do a tiny bit of mark making right at the feet. You may not even be able to see that. It almost gives the illusion that he has a twig or something to stand on there. And then lastly, I'm going to, because Calmer Past seems a little strange, so I'm going to add the letter A, so it reads A Calmer Past. And again, I'll use my micron to do that. And there we go. So that works for me. And I think that's it. January the 8th, font done and taken care of. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed watching my video. I definitely enjoyed spending time with you and creating this page. And I see you next time for another Junk Journal January. Until then, make a great day.